On today's episode of the 1% Podcast, we are excited to welcome Victor Rodriguez. Victor is a former homicide detective, having worked for multiple agencies throughout Idaho. He will share his experience with us about working in law enforcement and about a lot of his experiences there. He's also had a book written about a case that he solved. Victor currently serves as a city councilman in the city of Nampa. He was just elected to his third term there, so we're excited to talk to Victor about all things public service, his time as a homicide detective, and the threats and things and opportunities that he sees in the community today.
Same thing as you, only you were born and raised here. And they want the same thing you do. So how do we put that together? We bring them together.
Yep.
That's what you do.
Yep.
That's what you did when you had all the people behind you in the council. I was taking notes, whatever you said. I still have those notes. And on the bottom of that note I wrote, because I have a page full of your notes, welcome to Nampa. That's what your idea was. That's what your direction was. I'll tell you this, and this is in front of some legislators. I said, I'll tell you what, the day that I forget who I work for is a day that I should be removed from office. And that is my attitude toward the whole political world. I firmly believe that. They need to remember who they work for and whose community they're protecting. Talk about tough decisions. What do you do with a kid with a gun and he's looking at you, pointing it at you? Well, luckily he dropped it.
Okay, today's guest on our podcast is Victor Rodriguez. Victor is a city council member over in Nampa, retired longtime policeman and homicide detective. We want to jump in and talk about your career and all that stuff. So, Victor, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. When I first got the call from you, I thought, oh, yeah, this is going to be good because you and I get along really well, and this is a good opportunity for us to shout out to the people. Hey, this is where we are. This is who we are. So
I love it. Well, thank you for coming here. Victor's a good friend of mine and is a great advocate for wanting to do what's right and to represent the citizens, his constituents, and to make sure that good policies are being enacted in our community. And, you know, I think that it's very easy for most people to get caught up in national politics.
Yeah.
And they often forget that the things that make the biggest difference in their day-to-day life are actually local politics. You know, it starts here. It starts with our school districts, our city councils, our county commissioners, you know, all the races that take place here locally and at the state level. So we appreciate you and your service. So I like to jump in and let our guests kind of introduce themselves and let our audience get to know you a little bit. So let's just start at the beginning. Like, where did you grow up at? Tell us about your family.
Okay. I was born in Texas, but I raised in Burley, Idaho.
Okay.
My dad, P. Rodriguez, he was went to ninth grade, and he became a laborer because back in the 40s you had to work.
Yep.
1940s, that is. And he was a laborer. My mom was a laborer, and then we ended up in Burley back in 1955 or so. And Dad didn't want to do that anymore. He didn't want to be a laborer for farmers anymore. So he put his application into the Burley Police Department, and that's where he started.
Yeah.
And with a ninth grade education, he became one of the top detectives in Idaho, Hispanic detectives in Idaho. And then my mother was a janitor at the Casualty Memorial Hospital in Burley, and she said she didn't want to do that anymore, so she ended up learning and on-the-job training as an X-ray technician. So 35 years later, they both retired and traveled the world.
Wow.
So I, who was graduated in 1969 from Burley High, I was recruited by a lot of college for baseball, and I ended up staying here and went to CSI in Twin Falls and played a couple of years, and then I said, my mom's getting tired. I'm getting bored. I don't want to do this anymore. So
were you a pitcher or what did you play?
I was a catcher.
Okay.
Actually, but I never struck out.
Okay.
I never struck out. And the reason being is because it's not that I had a batting coach or a regimen of working out. It's just that I was hoeing beats from 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. And so you can't
You got really good at swinging a baseball bat.
Okay, you don't want to hit the beat and instead of the weed. So that's what I did. And so I was recruited everywhere. But I got tired of playing ball, and I went 2 years of college, and I got to go find a job. So my dad said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm just going to stay home. I'm going to take a break, Dad." And he goes, "Nope, you're going to work at Simplot's, peeling the potatoes." So I did on midnights, and I walked up and I said, after 8 hours of that, and I said, "I don't want to do this anymore, Dad. I don't want to do this.
It only took one, huh?
I want to do something else." Yeah. And he goes, "Well, you want to be a police officer now?" I said, "Yes," because I didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So, but little did I know that the day that I put on that uniform for the Rupert Police Department in 1973, that my life would change. It changed so much that I didn't realize that the danger, I didn't realize the fun, the rewarding, the sadness and the grief that I would see. But I have to tell you, I had a wonderful career. Most of the time, I didn't know that I had a talent of solving cases. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know how. But when we'd go to a homicide scene, when most of the detectives were shaking their heads, talking about what happened here, I was already outside smoking a cigar, drinking a martini. I already figured it out. And I don't know how I did it. But that ended up being a blessing for me because I was recruited by Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, Idaho Falls, Canyon County, Caldwell, and Nampa for those reasons. And it's been a wonderful career. I've done things that I wish that I wouldn't have done, but I'm still here. I've been shot at. I've been stabbed. I've been in hellacious fights. But the rewarding is I'm still here and I'm healthy. Yeah.
So how long did you stay down in Rupert, and then what did that change look like? Did you come to Nampa at that time, or did you go somewhere else first?
No, I ended up in Rupert, and I started there in Rupert, Idaho. But like I say, the sheriff of Bonneville County in 1975 saw that I was a young rookie, and he wanted a Hispanic police officer.
Yeah.
So he offered me a job in Bonneville County. And then I was in a school in training, and George Nurse in 1978 said, "Come to work for me in Caldwell." So I said, okay, I did. And then I stayed here until 1980. And the new sheriff in Bonneville County called me and says, "Well, can you come up? I want to offer you a job." So I spent 23 years in Idaho Falls. And in 2000, Chief Creech from Nampa called me. He goes, "Vic, I have a job for you." And I said, "Well, I've already got one." He says, "Do you want a good job?" I said, "I have a good job." He says, "Do you want a raise?" I said, "Yes." That's what got me. That's what I came back here for.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I came here was, well, he recruited me was because he wanted me to solve this 25-year-old homicide that's Stevie White. Stevie White was a 10-year-old that got killed in Nampa at Davison Canyon at the LDS church. And I think the detectives then couldn't break it. So later I found out that's the reason why he offered me a job. So one day Chief Creech called me to his office and goes, "Look, I'm going to have you work this case. And when you get done with it, I'll put you back on patrol," because I love patrol. I haven't worn a uniform that much out of 38 years because I've been a detective all those years. 3 weeks later, I went in and I said, "Okay, got a confession. I'm done. Get me back on patrol." He lied. He lied to me. He goes, "Well, it's too bad."
Not really back on patrol.
He put me detectives. He goes, "No."
So were you able to solve that case? And was there
3 years? 3 years later, yes.
Okay.
There was a kid that it was pretty simple. To me, it was a simple case. that it was a friend of his that wanted to that stabbed him and killed him out of rage, and that guy was already in prison, so it was easy to find. But yeah, he finally confessed to it, and the mother, Kay White, Kay McGinley. Now she finally got closure to her son's homicide.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's more. So that's what happens with me. So I didn't ever go back to patrol in Nampa, and I love patrol. But anyway, since then, though, I've been recruited by Fox News from New York City to be a consultant for homicides in Idaho, and I don't quarterback other agencies. I said no. I've been asked to work other homicides privately that haven't been solved, and I won't do it. Also, I've been featured on national TV 4 times on homicides that I've worked, and I've had one book written about one of them. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I can't explain it.
God gave you a gift.
Yes, thank you. I can't explain it, but it seems easy to me.
Yeah.
And then one day when I retired in 2012 from the police department here in Nampa, I said, what am I going to do now? The life that I'm used to of is no longer here. I will no longer carry a weapon. I'll no longer have a radio by my side. I'll no longer have a badge hanging on me. And I wasn't sure what to do, but I wanted to give back to the community that's given me so much. So I got into community service, Kiwanis, kind of those kind of organizations. And then Tom Dale in 2013 said, how'd you like to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission? And I went, sure. What do they do? And I realized that's part of the growth. That's part of direction of Nampa. So I went, okay, I'll do it. Then it was later on in 2017 when I said, you know what? I want to be a councilman. So I ran twice, lost twice. And in 2016, I was sitting with my wife, and Delcy goes, it's time. So I thought she was talking about going to go get an ice cream from Dairy Queen. And she goes, I said, okay, let's go. She goes, no, you don't understand. It's time for you to get back into politics. And because at that time, I had several councilmen that did not want me, and the mayor did not want me in as a councilman because I brought something different than what they were used to. I actually listened to the people. I actually did as the people ask. As my history with planning and zoning, I'd always support the people. And that wasn't the direction of that council. So I told her, look, I've lost twice. I don't think I can win. It's the good old boys. And I don't say that in a mean way, but yeah. So, and then when I ran, there was 3 others that ran again. So 4 of us. I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm going to run now with 4 people against me. But I won. The people finally had said, enough's enough. We want victory in. So that's what I've done since 2017 is be a councilman. And it's been a blessing for me. It's been a blessing for the community.
Just elected your 3rd term.
Yes, sir. Third term.
I want to get into your public service and talk through some of that. But really quickly, going back to your service in the police force, would you mind sharing with us a few stories or maybe things that stand out? Perhaps, a case of something that you felt was very fulfilling to you. Maybe an instance or an example of some time when you felt like actually afraid or one of the most dangerous situations you found yourself in. And then maybe something that, has benefited the community that maybe just people aren't aware of, and men and women in our, armed services. They, do so much to help protect us every day. And I think that a lot of times people don't even know some of the threats that come up just because they're, nullified before they actually become a massive public threat. So if you don't mind, maybe just share a
Oh,
couple stories with us that stand out from your career.
There's many that I have worked at. I'll take you to Bonneville High School in Idaho Falls, active shooter back in the 70s. It was unheard of. I mean, yes. And no, back in the 80s. And I was on patrol then, and there was active shooter. Actually, it was a kid took a rifle in there, and he wasn't shooting anybody, but it looked like he was gonna.
Mm-hmm.
So I was only a mile away, and I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go there. But I found at that time that my foot had its own brain because it smashed the pedal to the metal to get there as quick as I could. And I kept thinking, no, I don't want to go to this, but I was afraid. I was afraid a lot. I thought, how am I going to go in there and find this guy? And I may not come out. That was an everyday occurrence, by the way. And so when I ran into the school, students were running all over the place because they didn't know what this guy was going to do. And I confronted him. Oh boy, what do you do? Talk about tough decisions. What do you do with a kid with a gun and he's looking at you, pointing it at you? Well, luckily he dropped it. And those kind of things happened almost quite a bit. Another situation where a domestic battery, to where the husband's beating up the wife, and you can see it through the window, but you can't get in because it's locked. The door is locked. Many times I had that situation. So what do? You sit there and watch him? No. You can't get in because the door is locked. Well, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd break the window. I'd be the first one in. I wasn't afraid. I would be the first one in. And I always asked myself, why do you do this? Why do you put yourself in danger? And that's because that's what it's all about. That's what we're here for. And one case that really stands out to me that holds to my heart is if we had Ruth Roundy and Betty Gray in Idaho Falls back in 1988 and 89, where they were both killed. And it looked like the rural area for Bonneville County is Idaho Falls, east of Idaho Falls. And they had satanic stuff all over the place written in blood. So when I got to the crime scene, I saw that and I went, yeah, it's the net up. Because if you're satanically murdered, it's a mess. They have pentagrams. They have a lot of different ugly variations of that degree. This one only had like 666 in blood of candles, and amateur is what it was. It was amateur. Well, I knew at that point that it was not a satanic murder. It was a staged murder is what it was. So once we went to the crime scene and saw our victims, the suspect got the blood from Betty Gray, and he wrote with her blood on the counter, "Satan loves you." Well, what does that tell you? I mean, to me, it tells me she's the focal point. She's the one that was the reason why both are dead. So that's who I focused on, was her. And she had a necklace on, and she was laying face down in the bed, had been covered up with blankets. I took that necklace off her. Nobody knew I did that. Nobody. Later, it happened to be the breaking of the case. I didn't even know that. And what happened is Betty Gray was from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And so I called Jackson Hole Police Department and said, get a hold of the husband, William Gray, and tell him that his wife is dead. She had been killed. And find out where he was. Because it's usually, in homicide, it's usually
The suspect.
family, it's usually friends or business partners. And so rarely is it is it at random. So when the police department went over to talk to the husband, he put on this scene that he was crying, and that was the big giveaway. He wasn't crying; he's the one that did it. That's when I knew he had done it. He caused that murder. Well, as it transpired, it was about 6 weeks before we were really getting on to the nitty-gritty to find this man. One of our officers found a guy that was riding a bicycle at 3 a.m, and then he drove it to the hospital, and the hospital's only about 3 miles away. And then there was one of our officers saw that, and then when this bicyclist got to the hospital, a security guard saw him and walked up to him. And so that turned to be one of the most unique situations, because why would a guy on a bicycle at 3 a.m. be parked at the hospital? Didn't make any sense. Well, I suspected it was the husband all along. It was over money. He owns a business in Jackson Hole. $1 million business, well, more than that, actually. And come to find out, Betty Gray was having an affair with a gentleman in Idaho Falls. And they were going to meet up and they're getting ready to divorce, and they were going to get together. William Gray knew that. So he staged it. One day, I asked him to come to Idaho Falls and to take him into the hospital to get a blood sample for DNA, which I've never used DNA in any homicide. When we took him into the hospital, the one security guard that met the man in the parking lot was passing right through the same door. They just crossed each other. And that security guard said, "Oh my gosh, he's the one I saw here. He's the one that I saw in the parking lot." And we goes, "Are you sure?" He goes, "I'm absolutely sure that was him." Wow, what a break in the case.
Yeah.
And then, so I called Jackson Hole and I said, "Hey, I know it sounds crazy, but see if he has a bike and he's got a cotton seat on it, a wool seat, a girl's bike." Okay, that's what the officer saw. And he goes, and they went over to the pawn shop, and there it was. Wow. So things started falling in, but we didn't have enough evidence to charge him with the murder. But one day, William Gray, I asked him to come down from Jackson Hole with his family. He has a daughter and a son, to take the property that she had, because she had a suitcase full of clothes and jewelry and stuff like that. And I said, "Come down and get your jewelry so we can release it to you." So we did. We got him all the jewelry that Betty had on. And he goes, Where's the necklace?" And it hit me right there. I went, nobody knew about that necklace but me. And I didn't say anything. I went, "What necklace?" "Well, she had a necklace on." I thought, if you only knew, William Gray, you just caused yourself to be charged with murder.
Mm.
That's what broke the case. But we didn't have enough to charge him at that time with 2 counts of murder. Rita Roundy was only she was a witness to the affair, the witness that that William Gray was going to lose his business because Betty Gray would take half of it when they got divorced. She was only just a partner. So we had to charge him civilly. I found an attorney that would charge him, or that would civilly pursue a lawsuit for unlawful death. And some things came out of that just we couldn't get any other way through our investigation. And by that time, he said that he was going to give up everything, but he didn't confess to it. We finally had enough to arrest him, and we did. And a year later, he was convicted.
Huh.
So that case, staged, had everything in it: a staged murder, satanic, affair, greed. That's one they wrote a book about. It's called when something about greed. When greed turns something, but
We'll have to look up the book and we'll link it in the podcast so that if people are interested, they want to.
Dixie Murphy.
Okay.
You can find it on Amazon. It's I can't even remember the name of it anymore, but that case was we got a trip to New York on that one. That was Palazon did a special on that one. And what a case.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What a case.
Yeah. And these are things that, a lot of people just have no idea, ever happening. I'm sure, a double homicide in Idaho Falls at that time would have probably been big news, but, many years later, people are unaware.
There was, Darlene Johnson is a 9-year-old girl in 1981 that was going to school, and she was kidnapped in Nampa, around Yale, and I think it was Sunset, Fairview, in that area. She was kidnapped. I was working for Canyon County Sheriff's Office in 1981, I believe. And Nampa Police was working the kidnapping, and I was working, well, we weren't involved because a week later, they didn't find Darlene Johnson, but we found her dead, drowned in the Snake River by Melba. That's where I came in because I was Canyon County and it's in the county jurisdiction. So we worked that case, and Nampa Police was the main investigators. They eventually charged Charles Fain. Charles Fain was convicted of that murder and spent 30 years in prison. And it was finally released because of DNA. Then, 2 years later, last year, I got a call from the investigator from the Canyon County Prosecuting Attorney's Office and said that he says, we got a hit on the DNA. And I went, what are you talking about? He said, Darlene Johnson. And I went, really? Ooh. And he told me the name. I went, are you serious? He goes, yes. Wow. So, I can't remember the guy's name that was convicted of the murder, but 35 years later, and I'm the only detective that's alive that worked that homicide. The only one. And they said, the prosecutor goes, do you have a motorcycle? I said, I used to. Don't ride it. Don't do anything because you're the only detective that's still alive, and we need you because you're the one that got the evidence. So we just solved that. Just got him convicted, 4 months ago.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
Yeah. And here when a man, his life was, he took his life from him. Charles Fain, he spent
30 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Wow.
No. And now we got this other guy that did it. Isn't that crazy?
That is, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my mind is blown. Let's pivot and jump into your public service. How do you feel like your time serving as a police officer, as a detective, helped prepare you for public service?
I have to get back to the community that's given me so much. I have to. One thing that I have learned as a detective, as a police officer, to shut up and listen. But not only listen, but understand. I do that really well. That's trained in me. I work for the communities. They're the ones that pay my salary. I owe them. And so what separates me from the other councilmen, I don't take things personal. I can't. They get upset. It's okay. It's my job to figure out how not to get them upset. If I have to protect their property, I'm used to that. That's what officers do. I protect them and their families, that's okay. That comes easy for me. But more than anything, I was asked the other day, what do you think about term limits? I sat there and thought about it for a minute. And I see all these congressmen, all these legislators, all the politicians that are in their position for 20 and 30 years doing the same thing. And the people keep electing them doing the same direction that they have. I said, I'll tell you this, and this was in front of some legislators. I said, I'll tell you what, the days that I forget who I work for is a day that I should be removed from office. And that is my attitude toward the whole political world. I firmly believe that. They need to remember who they work for and whose community they're protecting. And sometimes outside influence gets in the way. Yeah.
I think that's really well said, because people allow special interests or other people to influence their decisions rather than the people that have been elected, right? I think that that's certainly one fault of many politicians. I think the other is taking the mindset that, well, people elected me, therefore they believe and trust in my decision-making ability, rather than listening to the people that elected you. And if their opinion happens to differ from yours on a certain topic, right, the constituents are telling you, hey, we don't want this. This is not what we want. We don't want it.
Right.
Even if your natural inclination is, well, I think that this is a good idea. If your constituents are telling you no overwhelmingly, I see a lot of politicians that turn and say, I'm going to do what I think is best, rather than, okay, it's very clear that this is not what the community wants. Therefore, I'm not going to vote in favor of it.
Exactly.
Right. I think those are two very different mindsets, right?
No,
do I represent the people, or did they elect me to just do what I think is best? Right. And there are times where, there isn't a clear, definitive answer on what the community wants. And so, yeah, you do have to make your best decision after gathering all the information possible. But I think that in a lot of cases, if politicians are willing to reach out to their constituents, to talk to people, to see what it is the community actually wants, to take the feedback. And so that's why we have things like public hearing notices, but to get the feedback from the community on what they want and then act in accordance with that. And, we were just talking off air before we came on that you see that more and more, right? We saw it happen a lot in Canyon County. We saw 2 mayors replaced. We saw multiple members of city councils replaced where, they weren't acting in line with the overwhelming view of what the community members wanted. And so they were replaced. And that's what happens, right? And I think that in a place where we still have things working as they should, that is often the natural consequence and result. Unfortunately, corruption does come into politics, and you see some of these legislators or senators, representatives that are in their position for 20, 30 years, and with an annual salary of $170,000, but somehow magically wind up with a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars. Corruption does come in.
Oh, yeah.
And, and it's important that we as citizens stand up for what's right, that we communicate those things, that we share what we believe, that we hold our elected officials accountable. And that's an important part of the process. And if we're ever really going to be free, you have to have an educated electorate, right? Like the people that are voting have to make themselves aware of the issues and know what they're standing on, not just, hey, someone stands up and gives you a couple little sound bites, but what is this person's record? What does this person believe? Like, what is this person's history? And so that tells you a lot about someone. So, no, I think a lot of the things that you hit on are important things, important attributes that you would want in an elected official. As you were just talking, I'm sure as a homicide detective, listening, right? Like you're just picking up evidence everywhere you go and you're getting people to talk, right? You're getting them to share information with you. And so having the desire to listen and the ability to listen, I think is a really great skill to have. Coming to an educated decision, gathering all the information possible to help come to a decision. I think that that's a really valuable skill set to have. And then just leaning on the community, right? Like seeing yourself as a public servant and that being trained into you or wired into you, or however you want to put it, where like, hey, like my job, my role is to help and protect the community, and I'm doing that in a different way now, right? It's the same,
Right.
it's the same goal. It's just through a different avenue this time.
Yeah, that mindset is this way. Let's take growth in Nampa. Um, everyone wants their families to come to Nampa and live. I get that because it's a good city to live in.
Yeah.
And so, but the downside to that is when growth comes at us in such an expansive, rapid housing direction, it's gonna play on us in terms of it'll raise our taxes, it'll raise our police department. It brings infrastructure,
The impact on schools, roads. Yeah.
There's a wide variety of stuff. So I said, wait a minute. In my campaign, it was slow the pace, say replace. And what I meant by that was in 2017, our budget for the Nampa City was about 171 million. There was 400 or so employees. And of course, the population maybe about 85 to 90,000. Now go back. Now let's go forward. Now, in 2025, our budget is 310 million or 210 million. And we have almost 800 employees. Why? For demand and supply. You've got to have people to work infrastructure. You've got to have people upholding, maintaining the streets and the roads with all the people that are here. And so now you have the growth. Growth says growth should pay for itself, but it doesn't. We're paying for that. So I'm saying, no, let's slow the growth, because right now is what we're financing it. How are we financing it? Because now we're holding people accountable for 3% increase in their taxes every year for the budget. Now we're using foregone that we didn't ever had to use before. Wait a minute. Let's hold off a little bit. Oh, by the way, if you want to build a 1,400 house subdivision, you better build them to our standards.
Yeah.
Right. Not 1,400 square foot homes.
What is the cheapest that you can possibly do to pack as many homes in to make it as profitable as possible for the developer? Right? Because the developer's in it for one reason only, right? Like they're in it to make money. And that's what it is. That's their business.
Right.
And so the community has to be in the business of pushing back and making sure that, just as we talked before, taking the mindset. I think that any responsible community that like you said, doesn't have the delusion that the growth is paying for itself, because the data overwhelmingly shows that it does not.
Right.
So, and most of these cities don't even have the data, right? Like they're not making data-based decisions. And so I commend Mayor Hogaboam and the city council and the new direction that's taking place there of parting from that nonsense and that, that delusion of this growth is actually paying for itself, because it's clear that it's not. And the previous administration had pushed that over and over and over again, even though they didn't have any data to support it. So I think that any responsible community has to go into it with the desire and the understanding that the developers are here to make money. That's why they do it, right? Like they're in the business to make money.
Right.
Now, they may also live in the community in which they're developing, and so they have some sort of an indirect benefit to it of, okay, hey, I want this to be good for the community because my kids, are going to grow up here. My family lives here. I'm going to be living here. So I don't want things that are going to necessarily be terrible for my community, but oftentimes they don't mind going 20, 25, 30 minutes away and going and doing that, right?
Sure.
But I think that any responsible community organization, the responsibility falls on them to say, we are denying every claim to come forward as a new development unless it adds significant value to our community,
Exactly.
right? Because the developer's in it to make money for them.
Just said it on.
The community has to be in it for them.
Right.
And if the community isn't in it, is this in the best interest of our citizens, our community? Is this going to add value? Is this going to help beautify? Is this going to create better resources and pay for itself and contribute to the community in a positive way, right? Because I don't think that any of us are saying, hey, we don't want any new homes built since the 70s and we want everything to just, kind of be old and dilapidated, no new growth or development. I don't think anyone's saying that, but to have it be done in a really responsible way. Now, there's some people that would argue the opposite side of that. And I see this all the time. I see this on social media where, people will come at the city or the county for denying, proposed projects like this. And they'll say, oh, great job, Nampa. You're making housing unaffordable in Nampa for my kids and grandkids. Or, people can't move here. It's already so expensive. Right. And you're only making it worse.
Oh, yeah.
I would say to those people, you don't really understand the issue, right? Because by approving further developments like this, you're not actually lowering the cost. Like if anyone thinks that adding 1,400 new apartments, townhomes, small starter homes is actually lowering the cost of anything, they don't understand the macro issues that are involved here, right? Like, yes, this is not a micro Nampa, Idaho, right, Canyon County, Treasure Valley issue. This is a macro issue that is impacted by the whole world and certainly our entire country. But the affordability of housing is an issue. It is going to continue to be an issue because of the rapid rate of inflation that we're experiencing and because we now have multinational corporations that are in the single family housing game. That's what they're doing. They're trying to buy up houses and communities as quickly as they can. These type of communities, like what you're just describing, are the ones that they love the most. They go in, they gobble them all up. Maybe it's even done from the get-go, and they all become rental homes. And that's what you see over and over and over again with companies that have no ties to the area. They don't care about the quality of life for the citizens. It is simply an economics game for them. And they're buying, these homes, are buying these single family developments, and they go turn them into rental properties, which is not good for the community. Right. None of the money stays here. Right. And so that's an issue that a lot of people don't understand. And so I commend any community, any council that is willing to stand up and to say, you know what, unless this actually adds great benefit to our community, we're not going to approve it. Now, while we're kind of on the topic of affordable housing, the world that we live in now is different, right? I remember being in high school and going out on construction projects and see signs all over the place, homes starting in the low 80s, the low 90s.
That's a long time ago.
The 100s, the 110s, right? Oh, the low 120s or 130s, like that those were the signs that you would see. And the American dream, as it had, been pitched since like the 1950s, was that everyone should own a home, right? And I'm sure once upon a time when you bought your first home, it was significantly less expensive than it was today, right? I remember being up in McCall with my grandma and driving by some homes right on the lake. And she said, can you believe that they want $250,000 for that house right there on the lake, right? And I remember thinking like, $250,000? Holy cow, right? For this cabin right on the lake in McCall, right? But that's what it was. That's how it used to be. The world is now different. It is more difficult for young people to buy homes. I'm not insensitive to that. However, people have to learn to adapt to what the times are. The idea that you're just going to go be able to walk in and go buy your first starter home at 21, 22, 23 years old, will likely be more difficult than it was for your parents or people in past generations. However, I think that there is a massive opportunity because today more than ever, I feel like it is easier to go beat your competition. Like there are fewer people that are willing to get up and go work hard. There are fewer people that are willing to go gain skills. There are fewer people that are willing to say, you know what, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do great at it. I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to do whatever it takes, right? If I need to go have a second job, if I'm going to work while I'm going to school, like I'm willing to do those kinds of things. And every single person like that I see, those type of people are thriving. Like they're thriving. They're doing really, really well because businesses want people like that, right? Like I am actively recruiting people like that to come to work for me. And I know other people that are, and it is a grab to try to get as many of those high octane young individuals as possible, right? Like if you see people out there in the community that are working really hard and trying to do what's right, man, people are just trying to, man, I want to hire them. I want to pay them well. I want to take care of them. I want to give them opportunities. And so they're working their way up the ladder really, really quickly. So I would, I'm not saying that there isn't an affordable housing issue, but I would also say that there's a bigger skills and education issue. And I don't mean education in the form of just formal education. Education can take a lot of different forms. And, most of your experience, it sounds like, was on the job training. I remember, you're saying about your mom,
Exactly.
on the job training, your dad, on the job training. Like, most companies are willing to do that now. When I grew up, it was, if you don't have a degree, you're going to go wind up homeless in a gutter somewhere, right? Like, that was what was pushed on everyone.
Right.
And now degrees are declining in value almost by the minute.
Right.
It's like, I don't care if someone has a degree or not. I could not care less.
Me too.
I care about their skill set. I care about their character.
Thank you.
Can this person work hard? Is this person honest? Does this person figure stuff out? Is this person willing to just jump in and to do what it takes and, to sacrifice and work hard and make things happen? Like, okay, that's the kind of person I want. Well, this person over here has a degree. Are they dependable? No. Are they honest? No. Do they work hard? No. But they have a degree. I don't care, right? Like, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Like, I care about the skills. I care about the character. And pretty much everyone else in my circle, and, we've had dozens of people on the podcast, and they all say the same thing, right? Like, they all say the same thing where it's like they care about the character and the skill set of the people that they're looking to hire. So I guess, coming back to the growth issue, young people, parents, grandparents, if you're worried about your kids or your grandkids being able to afford a home, if you're a young person worried about being able to afford a home, I would say go focus on yourself, go focus on developing your skill set, your character, your attributes. Go read, go listen to books, podcasts, find mentors, find people that are willing to pour into you. Go work really, really hard for the first 10 years of your career. Have at least 2 jobs, right? One job can be going to school. It can be, learning after hours or learning a trade, doing something else, but developing a skill set so that you're marketable. Right. I promise you, if you go do that for 10 years, if you just go work and grind and do what's right for 10 years, you'll be able to afford a home and you're going to be on a good path. So I don't want to sound like I'm insensitive to the affordable housing issue, but I think that, are they more expensive? Yes. But I have young people. I know lots and lots of young people that are making 6 figures in their 20s, right? Like, that was unheard of 10 or 15 years ago.
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunity for people to make a lot of money because there's a lot of different ways to earn, and people are willing to reward people that want to work hard. So anyway, I don't want to sound insensitive to the affordable housing issue, but
I want to tell you that when listening to you talk, you do have a degree.
Yeah.
One, that degree is you have a PhD in life. You've been through it. You've done it. You're a young entrepreneur. You employ people. You dedicate yourselves to their families. You have a degree that you've had to learn. And that's by far the best than reading in a book.
Yep.
So you have it. And you've excelled, and that's good.
Well, thank you.
Like yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I feel like, and I feel like I have basis to say it, right? Because I went through school. I worked hard. I had a job the whole time. I went and earned a bachelor's degree. I went and earned a master's degree. I worked the whole time I was going through school, and I learned a lot through that. But most of what I learned is I just learned how to be really responsible. I learned how to manage my time. I learned how to work hard and to manage my money and to budget and to say no to things. And I didn't go on a vacation for almost 10 years, right? Like, I didn't go anywhere, right? It's like, I just worked. Like, that's all I was doing, just working and grinding. And so, like, most of what I know came from the school of hard knocks, right? Like, most of what I know came from working, taking care of people, learning, listening, like, figuring things out. Like, and that's what that's what I just preach to young people over and over and over again is, you can go make it. Like, you can go figure it out.
Right.
And most things, I'm guessing, most things that you've learned in life didn't come from a book.
No.
They didn't come from a class.
No.
They came from learning by experience.
Better believe it.
And learning from other people, right? Like, learning from people around you. Sometimes that's learning what not to do, but in other cases, you're learning what to do, and you go grab onto mentors and people that are around and taking advantage of those opportunities to learn, because opportunities are everywhere.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of how you see them, right? Do you recognize them or do you miss them?
Well, you said the magic word, that you were brought up like this. It starts at home.
Yeah.
And the second thing, you have mentors and you have guiders, I call them, that guide you. You may not even know that they're guiding you, but they're showing you the right way. And you've learned that. These kids these days, I think, are turning that way. And when I go to coffee with the young businessmen and women, let's say the Hispanic They call it Café con Amigos. It's young men like you that are starting their businesses that have a business portfolio. They don't have a degree, but they've got a business plan
Yeah.
of positive result. Then you go to the Chamber of Commerce, and there's the younger generation that has the same. And if you close your eyes and listen to both of these cultures talking, you can't tell the difference. Their minds are geared forward, and I'm kind of sitting back going, these are the ones that's going to make the difference. Years ago, it was like, just give it to me. It's changing now. Yeah, it's changing. I'm glad you said that.
Oh.
That makes me smile.
Well, I'm in the process of building a new house right now, and a few examples I had. We have our earthwork contractor that did all of our excavation. Guy's name is Kenny Pyatt, and Kenny's become a good friend of mine. He's an absolute stud, owns a great company, does a lot of work. And Kenny mentioned to me one day, he said, "Yeah, I was never really good in school. Like, I guess I wasn't that smart, right? Like, I'm not that smart, and so I didn't go to college or I didn't do anything like that." And we were talking through things like, yeah, we got to go cut 3 feet here. We got to go do this. We got to haul in this many yards. And, that's going to be 50 by 100. And we got to bring in up this much. He's doing the math in his head. And he's like, we're going to need to bring in 1,200 yards of material and whatever. And he's just like calculating, like, Kenny, you're a genius. Like, you are. Like, you're really, really smart.
Right.
He's like, oh, no. Like, I'm like, no. Going to school and being smart are two different things.
Oh, yes.
Right? Just because you didn't like school doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. Like, you are highly intelligent. Like, I have a master's degree in engineering, and you're as good or better at math than I am. Like, you're sitting here rattling off numbers in your head, and, here's this guy, successful guy, owns a great business, contributes to the community, employs a lot of people, and was kind of under the false assumption that he wasn't intelligent because he didn't keep going to school. Right? He's like, I finished high school and that was it.
Right.
I have a few other clients, like, they've said the same types of things, and they employ a lot of people. They've been very successful. And I think that there's this stigma that people falsely believe that going to school and getting a formal education is the only way to get educated. And it's not.
It's not.
Right. And so we have stucco on some of our house. And so the contractor that's doing the stuccoing for us, his name's Hugo. And one day I was talking to him, and I just kind of asked him, like, Hugo, where are you from? Like, where'd you grow up at? He's like, I grew up here. I went to South Middle School. And I was like, really? Like, what years were you there? And he told me. I'm like, I was there at the exact same time. Turned out he was 1 year ahead of me. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I just started doing plastering and stucco at 19 years old. Eventually started my own business. Now he employs, I don't know how many people, but a lot of people, has a successful business. And, like, here was a guy that barely made it through high school.
Yeah.
But, his contributed to our community in a great way. And I think that we do a disservice to people like that by viewing formal education as the only way of becoming educated, right? And so I think that there's great value in both. I think that people can, most of the great people that I know have just figured out how to work harder than everyone else. They've just been willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And, so I think there's great benefit, in our community. So any young people that are out there, if you're feeling discouraged or feeling like the world's a terrible place, it's really hard, we do deal from rapid inflation. We are dealing with, crises in a few different ways, but at the same time, there's more opportunities than there's ever been. And so, I tell young people, like, fear not, like, don't be afraid. Like, that was Jesus's message over and over and over again. Like, be not afraid, fear not.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Are there trials and difficulties? Absolutely. But there always have been. They just take different forms.
That's one thing that I take pride in, is that when we have a business that I meet, I'll tell them, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help market you, because I am the resource for our community.
Yeah.
I'm an ambassador for our community. And so if someone is starting a new business, I'll tell them, come with me. I'm going to introduce you to a lot of folks, because relationships matter. And it's important for you to get your name out. And you can put yourself on social media, but unless you touch someone, you're just another business, advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go meet them and shake their hands and have a communication with them. Talk to them. And so I take pride in that.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think that just building the culture of a community where businesses feel empowered, they feel supported, and they feel like, you know what, the community actually cares that we're here.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go sacrifice us and drive us out because they want to come put in some new national chain in here at the expense of, you know, having a community and having heritage and values. Because, you know, it's really easy to go lots of places where the heritage has been completely wiped out by rapid growth. And that can happen really quickly, right? I use the analogy that, you know, if you have some Kool-Aid in a cup and all of a sudden you dump in 10 gallons of water, pretty soon you don't have Kool-Aid anymore, right?
I like that.
And it's the same thing, that it's like, okay, hey, we have a small community here. We have people that have lived here for a long time, people whose families have been here for a long time. Well, what happens if all of a sudden you come bring in 10x the number of people? It's the exact same, right? Your heritage gets washed out and there's, you know, really no remnant of it left. Do we want to live in a place like that? Or do we want to live in a place where we can have growth, but only to the rate that people are willing to assimilate into the culture and values that exist here, right? And that's one of the unique things about the United States, and really has been over the course of its existence, is that people came to America, but they were expected to assimilate, right? They were expected to come and join in. You left your old country, you left wherever you were at for a reason. You wanted to come here for a reason. You left California or Oregon or Washington or Colorado or wherever you came from to come to Idaho for a reason. And that reason is to come and assimilate. The reason is to come and to come join and to say, you know what, we love the culture and values and heritage that makes this place great. And so we're going to preserve that. And if we grow at such a rapid pace, it's like dumping 10 gallons of water into a cup of Kool-Aid. Pretty soon you don't have it anymore, right? And you can't assimilate people fast enough to be able to maintain that culture and heritage. And so I commend you for the work that you've done in your public service with helping to protect our culture and,
thank you,
you know, values that we have here. So,
you know, there's been a controversy because there's so many people moved here from California, Washington, and Oregon. And I'll take particularly District 5, which is Southwest Nampa.
Yeah.
A lot of them are retired. And when they would go testify before the council, sometimes you get you get this, well, you're not from here. I'm from here. I've been here for 30 years, and you're from California, and you really don't have a say-so. I turned that around. I went, wait a minute. The best resource are these folks, because they've lived, they've seen the growth and its effect, the negative effect of growth to their homes. So they're escaping that, coming to Idaho thinking this is a better life. It's an easier life. And they're just telling us, stop. We've been there. We're just trying to help you, that this is what the end result's going to be. You can say how beautiful the subdivision is going to be, but in 10 years, what's it going to look like?
Yeah.
And that's what they got into. So when I hear that, well, you're not from Idaho, you can't really say about our culture. Oh, yes, they can.
Oh, you just wanted to move here, and now you're not okay with other people moving here. People are like, you know, we laugh at people like that. And I'm like, how disrespectful. Like, that's appalling to me, right? Like, I mean, you know, someone in Nampa not too long ago got booed off stage, basically, because she, you know, basically commented on someone else having only lived in Nampa for 7 years and moved here from California. It's like people booed at that, right? And it's like, okay, like that person's not in office anymore. And I think that attitude is a big part of that reason, right? Like people think that, oh, hey, because I mean, I was fortunate. I was born here, right? My family on both sides through, you know, multiple angles has lived in this area for 100 years. So I'm really fortunate that I grew up here. Am I any less of a person had I been born in California or Oregon or Washington and I was raised there and I said, hey, look, like this isn't where I want to raise my family. Idaho aligns with my values, it aligns with the kind of life that I want to live. So I want to come move here. And then I stand up in a city council meeting. I say, hey, I think this is an amazing community. We moved here for a reason. I love it here. My family loves it here. We want to help preserve this place. We wanted to come and assimilate here. We want to be Idahoans. Like we're here. Like we want to be all in. These are the kinds of things that we saw happening where we were from. Please don't do these same things here. Right. And then for someone to like turn up their nose at you and be like, oh, well, you're not a real Idahoan because you weren't born here, I think is preposterous. Right. And so, you know, I think that, you know, taking the view and I commend you for the one that you have of listening to people from all over and taking their thoughts and input and taking that into consideration when making decisions, I think is a really important attribute.
Well, when you testified before the council on a couple Southwest Nampa issues, you said it eloquently. Because basically, you're saying the same thing today, and you haven't changed. So that's inside your heart, and that's your blood, and that's the kind of attitude that everyone has. And as long as you have that with you, you're going to translate that to others, and people are going to grab onto that because they say the same thing you do. So whether you're from Northern California or wherever, I don't care. They're saying the same thing as you, only you were born and raised here. And they want the same thing you do. So how do we put that together? We bring them together.
Yep.
That's what you do.
Yep.
That's what you did when you had all the people behind you in the council. I was taking notes, whatever you said. I still have those notes. And on the bottom of that note, I wrote, because I have a page full of your notes, welcome to Nampa. That's what your ideal was. That's what your direction was. And enjoy Nampa. I'll have to show you that one of these days.
I would love that. I'd love that.
It was pretty good.
I'd love that. Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. Last question for you. If people listen to this podcast and they say, you know what, I want to get involved. I want to do something to help. I want to help make the community a more positive place, whether they live in Nampa or they live somewhere else. What would be one piece of advice that you would give to people of something that they can do to get involved and to make their community a better place?
They need to step out of their cage, step out of their home, and go meet people. And not just me or you, just you're sitting by somebody at Applebee's, talk to them, introduce yourself to them. I do that all the time. Not because I'm a councilman, because I want to know them. This is what we're all about. And so get out of your everyday rigmarole or whatever you call it and make a friend. You may be surprised what they see and what they learn. Yeah.
Again, sound counsel. I give this to young people virtually on a daily basis. So you get paid on two things. You'll get paid on what you know and on who you know.
Oh.
And you never know when you're going to meet people, right? Like I have met a lot of influential people at coaching youth baseball, sitting at a basketball game, being at lunch somewhere, going to dinner, in the line at the grocery store, somewhere else. Like you just meet people. And a lot of those people have turned out to be a tremendous blessing in my life, and opportunities have come in my career because of that. But reach out and meet people, get to know people, get involved in the community, do whatever you can to help out. I think that's really, really sound advice.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because this is a perfect example of what you're talking about, is your direction of stepping outside the box. Is up until this last year, have you ever been involved in politics?
Not really.
Not really, have you?
No.
But last summer, you sponsored a hot dog meeting, picnic, with 3 council members. Is that the first time you ever did that?
In that type of setting, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And did you meet all those folks?
Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them.
A lot of them,
yeah.
Did you? And what do they say to you? Thank you. And now they know who you are.
Yeah.
And you met friends. That's what I mean by that. Now everybody knows Cam. I mean, they knew you from the business world, but now from the community world, they know who Cam Wheeler is. And Rick and I, Rick Hogbone, mayor, they've been talking. Have you talked to Cam? No, I haven't seen him. How's he doing? I don't know. We'll see. See? And you're not even around. That's what something that you stepped out and you did. And I don't think, I appreciated that a lot because you made me do the same thing. They call that, Cam, the power of one. The power of one can make so much difference that you've made relationships, you've made different direction, and you didn't even know it. Isn't that crazy? That's just so commendable.
No, well, thank you. No, it means a lot because that's really how it happens. And, you know, if I'm looking to the ultimate example, Jesus, like that's what he did, right? Like he believed in the power of one, taught that, lived that, preached that, leave the 99, go after the one, like he does everything one by one. and cares about people individually. And so it's the same thing, right? And I hope that in some way, shape, or form, I'm doing the same thing. And honestly, like the entire premise of this whole podcast is, we call it the 1% podcast, not because in any way it's meant to say like, oh, hey, Victor's better than everyone else because he's 1%. I wanted to go identify people that I felt like had worked really hard to become really good at whatever it is that they chose to do in life. And we've had, very diverse group of people come on the podcast, but also in the belief that you can get a little bit better every day, right? Getting 1% better every day, meeting one person today, meet one person tomorrow, meet one person the day after that, go try and impact someone's life, go do one small kind thing for someone, go rake someone's leaves, go put someone's trash can back, go do a kind thing for someone else in your community. And that's really what makes a community, right? It's not just people that live there. It's people that live and work and serve and care about each other.
Right on, brother.
Well, Victor, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure having you. So thank you for your service and for all that you've done throughout your career in public service and still in the public service of politics. So we appreciate you.
God bless you.
Thank you.